Hey everybody, this is Digital Sticks, and I'm here to make a confession. I sometimes troll Oculus Quest fanboys. Not not with the effort that they think I do, just because I could talk fast and type fast and think fast and I have a PC with a mechanical keyboard doesn't mean that I put in a whole lot of effort to my trolling, even though I'm matching paragraphs with essays. But anyways, I don't it's to the extent that people get butthurt over their technology choices or people's opinions of technology. I can't leave it alone. When somebody's button is pressed over a simple statement regarding technology, I just got to press it harder. I mean, I can't resist it. So, but the truth is, I don't care. Like, if somebody finds value in their technology, more power to them. I don't want you to be jealous of my index. I want you to be happy with your Quest if that's the case. So, when I talk about technology, my concern is for people that are going to be making investments that could go one of two ways when they spend their money. Like, for all this talk about the index at $1,000 being too expensive and people thinking that the only reason anyone would buy it is to flex, it's ridiculous. For one, if you're managing your money well, if you're a responsible adult, $1,000 for a piece of technology that you're going to use as often as you will a headset if you're an enthusiast, it's not anything. And if you manage other aspects of your life well, it's certainly, I can tell you my index is no indication of wealth. And so that can be that way for a lot of people. You can some bad habits, maybe live a little longer and get an index at the same time and actually enjoy your life instead of just waste it on bad habits. For example, you can push buttons in VR a lot cheaper than buttons at a casino. So there's a lot of different ways to afford this technology. So when I discuss it, I'm just trying to help people find value and to find a piece of the experience that I personally enjoy. I mean, I'm well past my initial amazement at VR, of course, but certain things will bring it back, to an extent. But the reason I'm making this video is there's a lot of new technology coming out right now, and one of the main things coming out is the Quest 2 as far as for VR discussion. The 30 series cards and then AMD cards coming out for the GPUs, that's going to be a major discussion for people with PC VR, especially over in the index side of things. But, I don't have a whole lot of opinions on those at the moment. I did have some value-based decisions I made regarding whether I was going to get one anytime soon. But we'll leave that to another discussion. What I do want to cover is the Quest 2. And first off, I'm not a fan of a Facebook account attached to VR purchases and VR games. So right off the bat, count me in on the people that tell you that's ridiculous and unacceptable and a ridiculous price to pay for a VR device. Facebook is ridiculous, okay? But, Zuck's on record. He's been on record he has disdain for the people that are dumb enough to give him their private information, which is all of us to some degree, or the majority of us to some degree. I use Facebook. Quest fans, their favorite thing to do is point out that you're using Facebook to complain about Facebook. You know what? Yes, but I'm using Facebook as Facebook. But my VR is separate. And I don't have any devices or games or anything that is tied to my Facebook account. When I realize I'm being an idiot with Facebook, wasting too much time or whatever, I can throw it all away, as I've done many times. I don't want strings tying me to that account. I'll purge it, move on. It's not a big deal. But we'll move on from that. So that's another topic. I actually, I'd had an original Quest and I sold it. I didn't expect to buy another one, but with the fire sales because of Quest 2, I am getting one for my fiance and I set it up. And, geez, there's a couple things from it. By setting it up for her and giving somebody VR that wasn't going to have it available, like, it's not practical for me to set her up with a full gaming PC when we're about to make a single household in the near enough future. But I introduced her to VR chat so that we could have a place to talk. And even in desktop, it's more immersive than staring awkwardly at cameras, alternating between a camera and a monitor, but never actually making eye contact. But so it has its advantages, but the Quest being on sale, suddenly it was a reasonable price to get her into VR chat for a more immersive experience. Even though it's just the Quest version, it's going to work for us. And that allowed me some perspective while I was working on it. I ended up having to do the FrankenQuest mod, ended up having to get the VR power battery, and even then it's going to be kind of questionable. Hopefully it's comfortable for her. Maybe I have more sensitivity in my head than some people. I don't know. I don't know how people could ever have loved that thing. It hurts so damn bad. But that said, I got a taste of what it was like for somebody that doesn't have VR that suddenly has the Quest make this experience, even limited, possible for them. And so that helps explain some of this crazy gap between the fanboys of the Quest and PC VR users that are trying to point out quality VR. So with that said, I'm glad there's a device that can help people in that marketplace, but not everybody that doesn't have a gaming PC is best off buying a Quest. Some of you are best off to learn the value of the PC and get it. Okay, so with a Quest, you can skip the PC, but you're skipping part of the experience. You're losing out on a lot of quality, access to a lot of games, and it just goes on. You've got a gaming console, a portable console. You're limited to whatever Oculus feeds you for it. But if you have a gaming PC and you made that investment, you're not just limited to VR games. A minimum spec VR PC can pretty much run any game that's out today decent in 1080p. So by the time you have a PC that can run a PC VR, what other games would you want to play? You can also, that PC can also do some respectable video editing and 3D modeling, whatever you'd like to use a powerful computer for. Even a minimum spec VR PC can do those things. It's useful. It's a useful thing to have. And you don't have a PC. You may never get on it, but chances are you would, if you're going to get on a PC and use it more than you will an Oculus Quest that's standalone. You're going to, once you kind of get over it, maybe a new game comes out, you break it out a little bit, but that thing's going to sit in its case for most people most of the time. The ones that are on just about every Quest available is the vast majority of them like new. They have not been used that much. For all the hype that surrounds the devices, most of them look like new that are being resold now because they really weren't used that much. People ran out and bought it because they were wowed by their first experience in VR, getting to see like Beat Saber or whatever, but a brief experience doesn't tell you the full story about the comfort. So I'm rambling a little bit on this again, but hopefully I'm at least worth following on this conversation. So coming back around, I understood firsthand, thinking on behalf of my fiance, the magic of what it's like to have the Quest bring VR, 6 degrees of freedom VR to you when it otherwise wasn't possible, when that's your first discovery of VR. So I kind of get that now a little bit better. I already knew, but I actually experienced it somewhat because of that. So I'd already been using the original Rift. But when you have had comfortable VR, the abysmal comfort issues of the Quest are completely unacceptable. And it's not the limitations of the mobile hardware that are my issues with the Quest. It comes up when I'm discussing VR chat, but in general, for somebody without a PC wanting a VR experience, just for gaming and stuff, honestly, the offerings on the Quest for somebody that's just casual interest is plenty. You don't have to have a PC and have the latest and greatest. It's fun. It's a good environment. Again, for VR chat as a conversation, it's a lot more limited, and that's mostly talking to people that have been playing on desktop or watching streamers and wanting VR for VR chat. That's different from somebody whose grandchild came over and showed them Beat Saber, and they thought, oh, that's cool. That's different. So anyways, I understand that there's people that are going to be enthusiastic because that's the only VR they've had, but the comfort on a thing is inexcusable. So now let's get to the Quest 2. Okay, the Facebook account. Blah. Done deal. Okay, that's your choice. If you think the device is worth it, go for it. That's your choice. That's your data. Facebook can make more off of your data than off of selling you the device at a fair price, and you seem to be agreeing that your data is not worth paying a fair price for the, so whatever. That's the exchange. You can make the value on what you're worth, and, that's your choice. But my thing, if I would have put out content sooner, and it's still not completely too late, but it's getting too late. If someone's interested in a Quest, now's a great time to get an original Quest at a discount, and you can get that set up while you can use an Oculus account, not a Facebook account. But it's probably going to be too late by the time most people see this video. So the Quest 2 looks good on paper. On paper, it's got some good stats, right? And then they made it a little bit lighter, blah, blah, blah. They put on a cheap phone VR cloth strap, and then they designed a better strap, and they're now selling it to you as an overpriced accessory so they can brag about this lower price. And it's got that XR2 chip, which should be amazing. It's certainly not going to hurt it, but so far, nothing that they've described with this device indicates that the consumer is going to be the ones getting access to most of that power. Looks like it's going to be doing behind-the-scenes stuff. One thing they're doing supposedly is increasing the frame rate for the cameras for hand tracking. So, people like the hand tracker or whatever. Maybe a useful feature comes out. I'm not saying that's a complete waste, but I don't know too many people like, I wish this hand tracking was smoother. But that's where some of the power is going to go. Obviously, it's going to have a higher resolution. And as far as the frame refresh rate goes, eventually it should have 90 hertz. Right now, that's not necessarily the case for everything at launch, but another story. But bottom line is, it is going to be more powerful. But while they're still supporting the original Quest, there's not going to be a lot of games or anything that actually take full advantage of the Quest 2's capabilities, at least not for a while after launch. I think there's been talk that there will be some Quest 2 exclusive titles, perhaps. And there's been some demos showing where the Quest 2 was supporting more game elements than appear in an original Quest. So I don't know how easy it is for developers to implement that. Oculus may have something in their API, so there could be more things coming, but off the bat, and for a while, for the most part, the gameplay and all that's going to be the same between the original Quest and the new Quest. But, anything that the original Quest could do, the new Quest should be able to do it a little bit better as far as performance goes. Battery life apparently is mostly the same. And that's part of where they save some of the weight. They're using some of the power of the processor to run it more efficiently, and then they turn around and reduce the size of the battery in the Quest 2. So some of that power from the XR2 chip is providing for a smaller battery in the device to get the same runtime. So, but now here's the crux of the issue. As far as the Quest 2 goes, for all of the hype about the device, if you watch the reviews, you're watching people that have the device early by being on good terms with Facebook, and they're getting a device early, and then you're like, oh, well, they're not paid for the review. Well, they get a free device, they get it early, and that gives them the early review and all the attention, all the views, and all the new subscribers, and everything that comes with being first or early on a review. So there is a lot of incentive there to not post a negative review. I haven't used the Quest 2, so I'm not trying to scrutinize every detail of their review. I'm not trying to say everything they say is a lie, but what is telling is when you get to the comfort, you will see them repeating the talking points that Zuck made, and that's talking about the reduced weight and different. It's all official talking points, and then very sheepishly they'll be like, well, after, like I saw one reviewer and he was like, well, after a certain amount of time, it really, basically saying like, no, the comfort's not fixed. And then he's the first person that showed me the new Elite strap with battery or whatever. And he was saying that that was an improvement, but even then he was still kind of, he was being not glaringly dodgy, but definitely dodgy. And here's why. The original Quest comfort is so horrible, and yet the hype for the device was so high that regardless of what extra functionality the new specs on the new Quest give you, if it was just the same experience as the original Quest but comfortable, people would be raving about it. The comfort. They'd be like, oh my God, this feels good. This is great. Finally, I don't have a brick on my head. They would rave about it. That's the most important thing to improve on the Quest for the Quest experience. They didn't do it. It's not done. It's still going to require mods. Perhaps the mods you can buy from Facebook will work. That's fine. But it's no longer a $299 device. You're going to want that counterweight battery. So if you're going to stick with Oculus accessories, you need another $130 to add to that $299. And then you have a headset that maybe is comfortable. We don't know yet until actual people that paid for the devices start giving their reports. And even then, there's some fanboys that are going to defend the device regardless of how much it sucks as far as comfort goes. They already did. And that gets back to where I troll them, because I just simply try to point out to people that are considering these things what quality VR is like, what actually makes people a VR enthusiast, and Oculus Quest fanboys get their butts hurt. If you like the Quest, enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with enjoying one. But if you're in the market or can be in the market for PC VR and you really, truly want to enjoy VR, if you want to come into VR chat and truly enjoy your experience, well, that's where a quality PC VR headset is going to shine, because they're more comfortable. They're not compressing anything. They're already designed to get the full experience, visual experience. So the biggest issue there is price, but and now, with the Rift S being retired, there's no longer that $400 budget option. So now you're currently looking at the $599 HP Reverb G2 that's coming out, or the Index. I think the G2 is largely what has inspired some of these new menu features on the here in VR chat, because now you got the single hand movement, you got access to gestures and everything else that are independent of touch controls. So the Reverb G2 is coming out, and it's going to be the first controller with zero touch capacity whatsoever. And if you pay attention to how all other controllers in VR chat have worked, touch has been implemented, whether it's a touchpad or whatever. So having no touch but just the same buttons was going to be a challenge. Well, now the new menu, you can come into VR chat, and you can't really gesture fluidly, but you can still do stuff. So you at least can do it, even though it's not as intuitive. Myself, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to gestures. Now that I have fingers, I might do stuff with my fingers, but I don't have to, but the original touch controllers on the Oculus and the ones with the Quest and everything else are intuitive in VR chat. So I just didn't worry about, unless I was purposely trying to trigger an animation, I didn't worry about facial expressions, things like that. I just simply did hand movements or whatever. But you won't have those on the Reverb G2. You do have them on the Index. On the Index, you've got full finger tracking fidelity, and obviously you've got native support for Vive trackers. That's with the device. It's great. But another device I discovered that is really incredible. Now, it's early for me, so just be aware of this. I did the Gear VR lens mod on an HTC Vive that I have, and it is phenomenal. Like, if I had known about that and did that, if I had known about that, if I could have known, I probably would not have an Index headset. I would have the Index controllers. I would still have the OG Vive with the lens mod. Save the money, but more than that, I now understand why some people complain about the colors of the Index. It didn't bother me coming from the CV1 to the Index, but wow, that Vive with the lens mod no God rays, and really vibrant colors. In VR chat, there's not a lot of the text. You could read text with it. I mean, it was really great. Now, I cranked the super sampling up to 200, but excellent. Now, there's some barrel distortion with it. There's some mods to fix it. I couldn't run those because I was using the same base stations I used my index on, and it makes the adjustments to the base station, oddly enough. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. For VR chat, I didn't really notice any eye strain of consequence. But I also have a lazy eye, so that may keep me from straining as much. Maybe I'm not, who knows? I don't know how that's going to work out. But if you don't have more than one headset, there's modifications that certainly bring it to a normal level. I think people say that the only places where you still have any kind of barrel distortion are the places that you wouldn't even have been able to see with the original lenses anyways. So it's a really pretty awesome modification. So if you can track down an original Vive, that is your cheapest route to a quality VR experience for VR chat. You can have the index controllers if you buy them, of course, and the Vive trackers, the inside-out track or the outside-in tracking of the base stations, which is super reliable. And anyways, you've got it. You'd have a full fidelity experience without, so if you can find one of those kits cheap, there you go. But the lens mod, the cheapest way, I went with some lenses that were already mounted into the 3D printed things and kept it simple. You can kind of cut some corners by finding a local Gear VR cheap or whatever else. But anyways, that would be my recommended budget option. Find an original Vive, mod those lenses to get the clarity, and enjoy it. You're going to like it in VR chat. A lot of people still use it even without the lens mod, even with the index being available. Most everybody in VR chat scoops up the index controllers. Not as many people went from the Vive to the index headset, and I can vouch for why. I mean, it's not that terrible. Your experience in VR chat's good. I didn't mean to talk about the Vive, though, but it just goes to show you that there is comfortable VR that doesn't require hype, that you can actually describe it as it actually is, and you can enjoy this game and many other experiences in VR. There's no reason to buy gimmicks. And the final point, a point that I've made regarding the Quest is when people are talking about value, $1,000 for an index headset was supposed to be outrageous and way too much. And they keep boasting about these low retail purchase prices of the Quest. They're leaving out their modifications that they do. And, if they bought the higher memory version, they're not disclosing that. They still talk about it being a $400 Quest. And they're leaving out all these costs. And now they're leaving out the cost of completely replacing the device less than 2 years later. So if you bought an index and if you have a gaming PC, and you invested in a PC VR headset, odds are right now you're looking at a much better improvement in your VR experience by upgrading your GPU. And there's a lot of exciting possibilities coming onto the table. That's the difference between buying a gimmick and being stuck in a console that you have to be fed new options from a corporate billionaire, or having a gaming PC that you can invest component by component in to what fits your budget and your interests and your experience and your device. So it's a lot more liberating to just go about it the right way. You do get what you pay for if you invest in quality PC VR. That's all I'm saying. I don't really care what device anybody gets. I don't think any less of a Quest user than I do an Index user. I don't think more of an Index user than a Quest user. I'm fine with people that are still using the CV1. It's not about pride. It's about quality of experience and a good return on your investment. So I don't think the Quest as a PC VR headset, Quest 1 or 2, deliver that. As far as the link support, it's great that it's there. There's use cases where that can be handy, but I would see that as a bonus feature for anyone that has a legitimate use for the mobile headset. If you want it as a secondary device, that's your call. Myself, when I first had one, as a secondary device, I sold it because it was just sitting in the case. So I sold it while the selling was good. Glad I did. And then now I have less invested in one with more mods for my fiance than if I'd just kept that one the whole time. So it worked out. But anyways, I'm glad I had that to give to her. So, at least Facebook's trying something because they did make it available. So it's not all bad, but just whatever meets your needs, go for it. But in the meantime, be careful. There's a lot of hype out there, and quality VR doesn't require hype. People can just simply describe their experiences, and they're not having to make excuses for comfort or ignore it or make excuses for privacy data. They're just simply talking about their devices because they're not having to trade their data to use it. They just simply bought the device and get to use it like they would expect to do any other device. So thank you. This is the kind of content I post. Not really detailed, informative, just more largely opinion-based, but it is experience-based as well, and it's thought out. So it's just food for thought, especially if you're new and interested in VR. VR chat itself, it helps. There's a lot of hype. It's kind of hard to get through it all if you don't really know exactly what you're dealing with. And so that's where I hope I help out. And anyways, thanks for watching. If you like this video, of course, be sure to like it. If you have any questions or comments, want to make fun of me, whatever, be sure to comment down below. And I, of course, appreciate subscriptions as well. Every other Friday, I'm doing VR DJ sets, so I can't stream them in a quality stream, so they're mostly audio only with some really wonky, I don't know what I was going for there. Anyway, some really janky is what I meant, graphics, because I'm basically just doing a low resolution graphics because I focus on my audio quality, but you'll see those streams all over, the recordings from those streams on my site. It is actually live DJing, even though I'm not showing up there. And you can catch me at the Night Prowler for that every other Friday. And I don't have anyways. So thank you, and that's it. Have a good day.